Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up, what up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is a TC MMA podcast, and we are live. Welcome. Big weekend this past weekend, big weekend ahead, and all the questions are answered. And it pretty much went down how I thought it would, right? I thought Robert Whittaker would dominate Ikram Aliskerov. I thought Johnny Walker would beat Volkan. That didn't go our way. Not even close. At the end of the night, we were 6-5, so not bad, but we got Robert Whittaker right, and the main event is more important to get right now, because we're just 11-10 on the season, so on the year, I should say. So stay tuned for all that, looking at the numbers, but we got to get into some of these reactions that were just crazy at UFC Saudi Arabia, and it's going to lead into a big week at UFC 303 this Saturday night, and then we're on break for a week for the holiday. For 4th of July. So it's all good. But first, let's get into the Johnny Walker Volkan Oezdemir fight. We'll build it up to the Robert Whittaker and then look at the numbers. But Volkan came in here and I don't want to say surprised everybody, but somebody was getting the KO. I promised you that. It just didn't go my way. Check it out. Ooh, nice leg kick by Johnny Walker, but he takes a right. And as we said in the prediction, both guys capable of being KO'd. But Johnny Walker's got a weak chin, man. He's beaten some good fighters, lost to some good fighters. But when he gets touched, he goes down. Right now, holding strong. First 45 seconds gone. And the tough thing with Volkan, he doesn't back up. Like, the guy's flat-footed and he comes forward. He, dares you to hit him, but he's going to counter every time. And Johnny Walker would serve himself well by landing leg kicks, but he's not doing it enough. And Volkan's standing face to face now. He's like within 3 feet of him at all times. Johnny Walker's got the reach advantage, so you don't really want him that close. And another leg kick, 2 leg kicks in a row by Johnny Walker. And Volkan eyeing him down now. Comes in with a left hook, just misses. And a leg kick. Boom, nice body shot by Volkan. And a left and a left. Oh, Johnny Walker's in a little trouble here. And already those hands are coming down. This is for Johnny. He takes a left to the body, and you can see the facial expression. This is not good. Takes a left and a right. He's breathing hard. Johnny Walker's going to lose his fight, I think. Yep, he's already grabbing at the nose. And if you're Volkan, you just keep the pressure on now. And another leg kick. 2 minutes gone here. Round number 1. Ooh, and a nice left hook by Volkan. Oh, Walker goes down. And he gets back up. He ducks the left. And he's in trouble. Oh, boy, Volkan's pounding away now. Johnny Walker's back to the middle. Flying knee misses. Then he stumbles. Yeah, and Johnny Walker's not looking good here. Volkan's just got to finish. Oh, and a big right drops Johnny. And he lands another right. And that's it. And, man, the ref should have really got in there one punch before he did. And that's going to set the crowd up for the next 4 fights because they're pumped up now. And everyone's out there hugging Volkan as he gets a big KO over Johnny Walker. And that's going to help him in the standings for sure of the light heavyweight division. But Volkan Oezdemir gets the KO of Johnny Walker. And we went with Johnny Walker, but I was worried about the KO power of Volkan and the weak chin of Johnny Walker, and I'll pay for this prediction. Volkan Oezdemir wins his 20th professional fight here, light heavyweight division, UFC, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so Johnny Walker fell, man. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, as soon as he gets touched, you can just tell it's not good every time. Oh, and a big right drops Johnny. Yeah. How many times have you heard that, right? And then he'll come in and fight someone good and beat him. And then he'll get in there against Oezdemir and just, and a big right drops Johnny. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Whoa!
Like, as soon as he gets touched on the chin against a guy with any type of power, he's just all, he's going down. It's like timber. So it is what it is. So we definitely lost that one. And I just knew somebody was going down. I didn't really know who. I was taking a guess on Johnny Walker. That's why we said Johnny Walker would dominate Volkan. But it ended up being the other way. I mean, that's just the way that it goes. That's the way that it goes. Then you had Shara Magomedov getting a big finish. These are the first two fights of the main card. So the Saudi Arabia is going crazy at the beginning of the main card. Check this out. Antonio Trocoli starting to slow down now. He looked good in round one. But flying into Saudi Arabia at the last second, having to make weight pretty quickly, starting to show here late in round three. 2 minutes gone, final 3 minutes of the fight. And Shara, spinning back kick, wants to get the finish in Saudi Arabia. And the crowd will go crazy if he does. Spinning back fist missed, front leg kick lands, and Shara just has a lot of bounce left in his step. He looks good. A lot of energy. Oh! And a flying knee by Shara. Now a big right and a left. Tricoli's in big trouble. The ref's looking at it. He takes a right, another left. He goes down, and the ref steps in, and that's it. And the crowd roars. And this is what they wanted to see. Shara Magomedov gets the KO, and everyone's on their feet. You see all the cell phones snapping photos, things like that. And Shara's on his knees, doing what he does, thanking the Most High, and he gets the win here. In front, he's the home favorite, of course. But not only gets the finish, but a long, drawn-out fight, and just breaks Tricoli down, who might have had a better chance in this round had he not had to take the fight on at the last minute and fly around the world quickly, right, and all those things. But nonetheless, great fight by Magomedov here, UFC, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so the Saudi Arabian crowd at least had something to cheer for, right? Because they wanted Aliskerov to win, and he didn't. And at least you had Shara come through, and the fans got to get the taste of this is what it's like when your boy wins, So they were going crazy at that moment in time. The next two fights would go to a decision, and we'll get to those results in a minute. But obviously you had Robert Whittaker in prime time taking on Aliskerov with Khamzat Chimaev out. More on that in a moment, on his reaction to this fight, because I was very curious what Khamzat would say. But Whittaker steals the show in Saudi Arabia. We thought it'd be Khamzat, but he didn't even make it to the fight. So Whittaker steals the show. Check it out. And what's going through Whittaker's head? This is not what he planned for. He planned to defend takedowns. He planned to be on the ground potentially at some fight. He prepared for a lot of power. And you have those, but I can tell you now just by looking. Oh, Whittaker lands a big right, and Ikram is out on his feet already. This is not good. He's in trouble. And big uppercut drops Aliskerov, and this is going to be it. It's over. Robert Whittaker. What I tell you, baby. What I tell you. He's lucky it ain't Khamzat, because Khamzat would have. And I was just getting ready to say that it's clear to me, looking at these two guys, that Aliskerov is not Khamzat Chimaev, because the power's not there, the aggressive takedown ability is not there, at least against a guy like Whittaker. And Whittaker landed a big left, and immediately Aliskerov was out on his feet like this. And then Whittaker came in and boom with the big uppercut, and it's over. And again, credit Robert Whittaker for coming in and taking on this, giving this guy an opportunity. And he's going to celebrate like he beat Khamzat, And this isn't the fight that we all wanted to see, obviously. Yeah, it was a big right. Out on his feet, takes a left. Takes another left, ducks the head kick, but he's already wobbly, and he takes a left uppercut, and the ref steps in at the right time. Aliskerov gets right back up. He's fine, but certainly just overwhelming power from Robert Whittaker. And we're just getting to look at the replay here from multiple angles. And I had a feeling this thing was going to get done in the first round. You don't know what to expect from Ikram until you see it, you know? And it's clear that Robert Whittaker is on a whole different level, and I would have loved to see Khamzat in this fight, just to see how he handles a guy like Robert Whittaker, right? If Khamzat is good as we believe, he wins this fight. But Robert Whittaker shows you the power, and there's levels to this game. Yeah, and that uppercut just, you know, the ref's already trying to get him. You let Whittaker get one or two more just to make sure, which is the right move, because Aliskerov was still crawling around trying to get up, and Whittaker finishes this fight in just a couple of minutes. So now Ikram has lost to both Khamzat and Whittaker, and that's the way it goes. And it's just completely different levels. Aliskerov will be back. I think we even had him on our due list, but he's nowhere close to the level of Robert Whittaker today. Khamzat would have been a much different fight, and it would have been interesting to see. Robert Whittaker wins. He maintains his number 3 spot here. Middleweight division. UFC, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, and at the end of the day, you got some people saying that's what he would have done to Khamzat, and you got others like myself saying that wouldn't have happened to Khamzat. Khamzat would have stole the show and got the victory. But we just don't know. And will they fight soon? More on that in just a moment. But first, let's take a look at the results from this past Saturday, UFC Saudi Arabia, 6-5 on the night. But you see there, I mean, we started out kind of slow, 2-3 in the first 5. Losing, Naimov lost, Renat Fakhretdinov won, Kai Young Ho Kang lost, Magomed won, and Zhao Long lost in the road to the UFC final. Then Nasrat Haqparast wins, so we're 3-3 with 5 to go. We go 3-2 down the stretch. Lose Johnny Walker first in the main card. Then get Shara and Kelvin. So we're looking nice. We need one of the last 2 to have a winning night, preferably the last one, and that's the way it worked out. Pavlovich fell to Volkov. Almost a little scuffle after the fight, right? As Volkov just tried to go over and say, hey, man, good fight. But Pavlovich, you know, feeling down on himself, tried to pick a fight after the fight, which is always funny, you know, because you just had 15 minutes to do what you wanted to do, and now you want to fight after the fight. And then luckily for us, Robert Whittaker wins. He stole the show at UFC Saudi Arabia. I mean, he absolutely stole the show. You know, and will these guys fight again? First of all, before we get into the news, let's just contemplate this. Robert Whittaker sustained nothing in the form of punches or kicks or anything like that from Ikram. So UFC 305, I think, is still a possibility. I'm not sure what Khamzat's status would be fighting in Australia. I think it would be good. I don't know. But that's definitely a possibility. Would the UFC want to go in that direction? With especially at a pay-per-view event with all the fights they've had to reschedule lately. Right? And then you go back to the Nate Diaz situation. The UFC was scrambling at the last second in that one. So now that doesn't look good. But Robert Whittaker saying, I plan to be there. Speaking about UFC Australia, a.k.a. UFC 305, which is looming now in just over 2 months. Right? I think that will be August. Khamzat rises from sickness, reacts to Robert Whittaker KO. We are not done, says Khamzat. So you got Khamzat, you know, saying we're not done. We want to go. We want to get it on. He wants to get it on. But unfortunately, even though he's like my favorite fighter, the guy I would put against anybody right now and tell you he would win, when I say that, he's a liability for the UFC. And I hate to say that, but that's the case right now. He's a liability in the fact that will he actually fight if he's scheduled. He's had a couple setbacks in 2 of the last 3 or 2 of the last 4 fights. Right? He fought Burns, he fought Usman. Didn't fight Diaz, beat Kevin Holland in a restructured fight. Now had to pull out of the Robert Whittaker fight for whatever reason, even if it's not under his control. He's still a liability right now for the UFC, and I think that's going to be a serious problem for him going forward. You know, he can talk a big game, but now he's a liability. And That's not good. It's not good at all. So that's how it goes down. I mean, UFC Saudi Arabia was great. What's coming next? We really don't know. In the chat room, people are saying a Mavov. I've heard a lot about a Mavov, which I'm sure will come up right now in the Q&A. So let's just jump into that right now. Bo Jackson getting in there first. Says Chimaev can't even make it to a fight. How are you still praising him? Because I'm not a fair weather fan, right? It's like asking me if the Miami Dolphins are going to win next week. I don't care if they're 3-7 or they're 7-3. I'm going to tell you, yeah, they're definitely winning next week. That's my team. Now, does that mean I miss some things? Does that mean if the Dolphins are 3-7 and they're playing the Patriots back in the day when they had Tom Brady, which I'm sure had happened at some point, I'm telling you, yeah, we're beating Tom Brady and the Patriots, even though we're 3-7. So sometimes, I could be wrong, for sure. But there's something about Khamzat that makes me a believer, and it's hard when he's not fighting. Bo Jackson goes on to say the wolf ducked the reaper. Yeah. I mean, if that's what you want to call stomach sickness, ducking somebody, but I get it. All the boys getting in. Homework says Dana said the obvious move is to see if Khamzat can make UFC in Abu Dhabi next. And see if that's the case, then he's going to have to fight an opponent to get back to Robert Whittaker. Maybe it's not Robert Whittaker, it's someone else, but he's going to have to fight a fight before he gets back to that level. And that's why I'm telling you it's going to be almost probably 9 months to a year before we see him in the octagon fighting someone that he should have fought that's like Robert Whittaker was this past week. So we've just lost 9 months in the career of Khamzat off of stomach sickness. So maybe he fights a Cannonier, someone like that, and beats him, and then he gets Robert Whittaker, who will then be looking up at that point, but someone else that's up there, right? We'll have to wait and see. The Master, he congratulated Whittaker and said heads up to Aliskerov. Classy reaction to the fight. I hope he is healthy to return in October, as Dana suggested he should do. October, wow. Okay, so let's go with October. Then when's the next fight after that? That's not going to be Robert Whittaker, I don't believe. So now you're looking at April or May for the next fight, and right now we're in June. So that's why I'm saying it's almost 9 months to a year before he gets back to the level of fight of Whittaker. And when he gets in that fight, it's just going to be a loss of 9 months, going on 31 now. Still waiting to get a title shot. It just stinks. Mr. Softy MMA says, so here's the breakdown. Costa is on a 2-fight skid. He needs to fight Cannonier now. Vittori can fight Hermanson. I say you either book Chimaev versus Allen, or a Mavov, so he's top 5 ranked. Makes too much sense, and the timelines work for them. Yeah, a Mavov could be a possibility, and I think he dominates a Mavov, so I like that one. I like that one. But it doesn't get him a title fight like Robert Whittaker, I think, would have. Werewolf MMA says Khamzat needs to fight a Mavov and take his ranking. It will be similar to the Holland fight. Yeah, because he's tall and lanky, and he's not worried about the KO power of a Mavov, on one punch, and therefore the takedown game is going to be wide open. MMA saying a Mavov versus Chimaev for France. I say yes. King Terzi, Khamzat versus Mavov. Book it now. We don't owe Costa anything. Forget him. Waste of time. A Mavov is the easiest fight in the division. Yes, he is. Homework is back saying Dana said the obvious. Yeah, we already read that one. Okay. Yeah, so that's what all the usual suspects are talking about. Is Khamzat versus Mavov. And I'm not against it. One bit. I mean, I'm not against Khamzat fighting Nazaruddin Mavov at all. I think that will be a good fight to see. And I'm highly interested. Now, one last story. Joe Rogan says Conor McGregor's UFC 303 withdrawal was wise. And that was my initial reaction too. Everyone wants to get on him to see him fight right now. I heard a little bit about what Stephen A. Smith said, and it's like, dude, come on, you don't even know. It's just like you're just getting on there saying anything. The guy messed up his leg, now has a broken toe, which sounds silly, but that's, one of your main, both of them are your main legs. You can't go in there with any problems against Michael Chandler. I mean, you just can't. Rogan said on Fight Companion this past Saturday, where he went live if you didn't see it. When you're a guy who kicks as much as McGregor, it's a problem. It's also the same foot where his leg was messed up, and he went into that fight injured. He's never pulled out of a fight before. This is the first one he's pulled out of, and I think it's wise. Yeah, and I think it's hard to go against Joe Rogan on that. I don't think a lot of people disagree, unless you're just not paying attention. Unless you're just not paying attention. Yeah, you want to see McGregor fight. Yeah, you want to see Khamzat fight. But you also want to see both, at least I know I do, because June was a big month for me as a fan. I want to see them both fight, but I also want to see them both healthy. I don't want them to go in there and take a L because people don't care after the fact if you were injured or anything like that. Just ask Colby Covington. Nobody cares. And I was a big critic of his performance until I heard he got injured, you know. But some people don't care. I mean, it's just you lost. You either won or you lost. No one remembers what the status was going into the fight. So you got to make sure you're in a position that you're 100% so that when you go into that fight, it's pretty clear you're going to win. And if you don't, you know you're 100%. You gave yourself every opportunity. So I'm not against these guys pulling out of these fights. It really stinks. If you'd asked me that day, I might have said otherwise. But when I came back to my senses, I realized, like, yeah, I don't want to see Khamzat lose because he's trying to recover from a sickness. And he easily makes weight, but he's weak as heck. And then you're dealing with a 5-round Robert Whittaker potentially. And you're going to run out of gas at some point because you were sick. And then you're going to lose. And then people are going to say, see, he has no gas tank. So you got to do what you got to do. And you can't really get on these guys too much for pulling out of these fights if they're not 100%. That's the bottom line. But listen, it's been real. We're coming back tomorrow. I can't wait. UFC 303 is looming. We got the previews and predictions for all the fights tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. For now, it's your boy Chris Cross. I hope you have a great day, and as always, God bless. Peace.